It all began on a rainy Thursday in April. Eli Matthews had just finished his third week working as a junior consultant at Darnell and Company, a prestigious but aggressively competitive firm nestled in the glass towers of downtown Chicago. He was 27, ambitious, a little naive, and still adjusting to the unforgiving pace of corporate life. But nothing had prepared him for her. Vivian Darnell. She wasn't just the wife of Thomas Darnell, the founder and CEO. She was the kind of woman who made time slow. Her presence was like perfume in a warm room, heady, lingering, disarming. She was 10 years older than Eli, maybe more, with striking green eyes and a voice that always felt like it was whispering a secret, even when she wasn't. The first time they met was at a company dinner. Thomas had introduced her casually, as if she were just another one of his accessories. Rolex, wife, Mercedes, in that order. But Vivian didn't blend into the scenery. She took an interest in Eli right away, asked about his background, laughed at his nervous jokes, and leaned in a little too close when she spoke. That night, as the dinner wound down, Thomas had to leave early for a business call in New York. He excused himself, kissed Vivian on the cheek, and vanished into the night. Eli assumed she'd leave soon after. She didn't. Instead, she ordered another glass of red and said, "You look like someone who's not used to being noticed. That's a shame." That was the first time. It became a pattern after that. Thomas Darnell traveled often, New York, London, Singapore, and every time he left, Vivian found a reason to come by the office. Sometimes she brought baked goods. Other times it was under the guise of asking for help with something techie that Eli could handle. He was always polite, professional, at least at first. But the air between them grew heavier with each visit. Vivian liked to test boundaries. She'd sit a little too close, let her hand linger on his arm, speak in tones that could mean nothing, or everything. She'd make loaded jokes about how Eli was easier to talk to than most men with power. There was always a tension in her smile, like she knew exactly what she was doing. Eli tried to resist. He told himself he wasn't that guy. He wasn't going to betray his boss, his mentor. But temptation is a slow burn. It starts as something ignorable. Then it starts whispering in your ear. The first time it went too far was in Thomas's office. Vivian had come by to drop off something her husband had forgotten. A folder, she claimed, and found Eli there working late. She closed the door behind her. "You work too hard," she said. "My husband's the same way. He forgets there's a world outside all this." Eli cleared his throat, unsure how to respond. "He built a whole empire. That takes work." "He built a fortress," she said, stepping closer. "And he keeps everything locked in it." Before he could answer, her hand was on his chest. Her eyes were searching his, and her voice was a low, dangerous whisper. "Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to be reckless?" It was supposed to be just once. But once turned into twice. Twice turned into a habit. Every time Thomas left, the fortress cracked open. Eli and Vivian met in stolen hours, behind closed doors, in hotel bars, in moments that lived somewhere between shame and ecstasy. He hated himself for it. He promised each time would be the last. But there was something intoxicating about being chosen by her. About the thrill of secrecy. About touching something forbidden. And Vivian? She never apologized. She never explained. To her, it was a game. A way to feel alive again. Or maybe a way to test how far her husband's world could bend before it broke. Then came the day everything changed. Thomas returned early from a trip to Singapore. He didn't go home first. He came straight to the office. No warning. No calls. Eli was in the conference room, helping Vivian pick out files on her husband's computer. She was laughing, leaning too close, her perfume thick in the air. The door opened. And there was Thomas, expressionless, cold. Silence fell like a guillotine. Vivian didn't flinch. She simply smiled and said, "Darling, you're back early." Thomas said nothing. Eli's heart thundered. He was sure it was over. His job, his career, maybe his life. But Thomas didn't confront him. Not then. Not ever. The next day, Eli found an envelope on his desk. Inside, a single note. Asterisk, I built a fortress. That means I know where every crack is. Asterisk. He was transferred within a week. Relocated to a branch office in Denver, away from the glass towers, away from Vivian, away from temptation. But some nights, in his quiet apartment overlooking the snowy streets, Eli still felt the ghost of her touch, heard the echo of her laugh, and wondered if the game had really ended, or if she'd simply found someone else to play it with. Denver was colder than Eli expected, not just in temperature but in spirit. The office was smaller, quieter, and politically barren compared to the cutthroat skyscrapers of Chicago. He spent his first few weeks trying to forget, trying to be clean again. But the mind doesn't purge what it loved, even if it hated it too. Vivian haunted him in the negative space. The scent of perfume on a stranger, the flash of red lipstick in a crowded coffee shop, a voice that pitched too low on the phone. Her memory followed him like an unpaid debt. So when he saw her in Denver, 3 months later, he thought he was hallucinating. It was a Thursday, late afternoon. He had just left the office, coat half-buttoned, coffee in hand. And there she was, leaning against a black Audi in the parking lot. Vivian Darnell. Dressed like winter was something ornamental, not functional. Sunglasses, gloves, and that smile. The one that always came right before the storm. "Hello, Eli," she said. He froze. "What are you doing here?" "I was passing through. Thought I'd check on you. See how you're adapting." She paused, then added with a slow grin, "You didn't answer my last letter." "I didn't think I was supposed to." "You weren't. That's why I came." They met that night in the lounge of a boutique hotel she was staying at. It was upscale but not flashy, elegance in soft lighting and polished marble. Eli almost didn't show, but his curiosity drowned his conscience. Over drinks, she told him she missed talking to someone who didn't bore her to death. She spoke of Thomas with the detachment of someone describing a weather pattern. "He always wins, but he never enjoys it," she said. "Men like that only feel powerful when they think they control everything." "So what happens when something slips through?" Eli shook his head. "He already knows." "I think he always knew." Vivian leaned in. "Then why hasn't he stopped us?" "Maybe because he thinks it's over." She smiled like that was her favorite lie. It started again. Denver became their new secret. Every few weeks, she flew in under the radar, no security detail, no entourage. Just her and Eli, locked in weekends of soft bedsheets and sharper guilt. They explored each other with the urgency of people who never had enough time. But it wasn't just physical anymore. They talked, really talked, about fear, about being invisible, about the strange loneliness that came with living someone else's version of a perfect life. Vivian opened up in ways she never had in Chicago. She confessed she once loved Thomas, but that somewhere along the way, their marriage became a business merger. "I became part of the brand," she said. "A fixture. Not a person." And Eli, in some twisted way, made her feel real again. But he was changing too. What began as a thrill had turned into something far messier. He found himself jealous, angry, wanting more, wanting her to leave Thomas, wanting to stop sneaking through the cracks. "Let's end it," he said one night. "Or do it right." Vivian looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "You don't understand," she said quietly. "You were never part of the plan. I just wanted something dangerous, something that couldn't touch me. You think this hasn't touched you? I think it's about to." The next morning, the hotel room was empty. She was gone. No note, no goodbye, no trace. Eli waited days, weeks, but she didn't come back. Then one morning at the Denver office, he received a sealed package. Inside was a single item, a leather-bound journal. No return address. It was hers. Vivian's journal. He read it over the course of the night, every page a descent into her mind. Her loneliness, her anger, her addiction to control. Her affair with Eli wasn't love, but neither was it meaningless. It was rebellion, a way to set fire to the cage her husband built. But one entry stood out near the end. Asterisk, he's watching us. Always was. This was never about Eli. This was about Thomas. He needed to see that I could burn something he valued. And I did. And he let me. Because that's how he wins. Not by stopping the fire, but by owning the ashes. Asterisk. There was a second envelope inside the journal. A plane ticket. One way. Back to Chicago. First class. The flight was in 2 days. On the back of the ticket, scribbled in pen. If you come back, everything changes. If you stay, you disappear. Choose wisely. Eli stared at the ticket for a long time. Vivian had always been dangerous, but maybe Thomas was worse. Because the real game, the one neither of them had spoken about, wasn't between Eli and Vivian. It was between Eli and Thomas, and now? The next move was his.